So I'm here with Renee Bush from Tandem. Hi, Renee. Thank you for
Hi.
joining me today.
Yeah, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you. All right. Let's start with a little bit of your background and how you got involved in the industry to begin with.
Cool. Well, I've actually worked in the design industry, like I would say like the design industry at large for, a little over a decade. I kind of started out more in the graphic design world and I was working at a couple small studios, really just like helping with all the operations and running the studios and things like that. And then, one of the places I was working at ended up closing down and I went and got a job at Studio McGee. So that was my first real job in the interior design world, which is pretty amazing and super lucky and, just such an amazing opportunity. It was taking my design operations experience and working with designers running creative teams and applying that to this new design, world of interior design. So I knew a lot about like running design businesses and creativity and working with designers and billable hours and all that kind of stuff, and took that agency model and kind of worked with the Studio McGee team to really just go through and update and streamline a lot of their operations and how things worked. And, when I joined the team, they were in such a growth phase and they really haven't stopped growing, which is kudos to them. But like they were really starting to ramp up and take on more projects, and they had a pretty big design team, but we're really looking to like increase the profitability and just like reduce stress, right? Like everybody wants to do. So that was really the role that I came in from, like project management, design operations. I came in doing that and really helped them refine, streamline, systemize a lot of their operations and kind of how they do their projects. And then from there, really how I got into like Tandem was kind of like starting to work with other designers outside of that and consulting on their processes and operations and kind of how their businesses work and how to make them profitable. So that's really where I like the journey, I guess, that brought me here.
Yeah. So what was it about your time at Studio McGee that you think like really allowed you to better understand, what designers need in order to grow their business and be profitable?
I think that it really was a lot of the research in and out of the company, right? So like in the company, digging into all of the numbers, doing a ton of audits. They have an incredible accounting team and just like a finance team. They've always put a lot of focus into like all the different areas of the business that they need to really shore up so they can be successful, which is, so recommended. But I worked closely with the finance team on, just all of those numbers and trying to wrap our minds and our arms around like how many billable hours per person and how much does a designer cost and how many projects can we handle and what's the average square footage of our projects and how much money are we making on all that square footage and how much product are we selling and how much money are we making on those products and is it, how do we make sure that everything that's flowing through the business is profitable? Really looking at everything from sales tax and shipping costs to the vendors we're purchasing from and how do we make sure that we're optimizing our choices? Yeah, just systemize and make sure that everything we're doing is putting the business in a good position so that we can profit and benefit from the money that we're making. And what that looks like is making the right choices ahead of time, giving the team clear direction so that we can have more flexibility, more resources, take the team to High Point or to, do inspiration trips or to even just do trainings, having, vendors come in and teaching the team constantly and doing lunch and learns and trainings. And all of that is possible when you're not trying to squeeze every single billable hour out of every person. So I think like really digging into the data was where I learned a ton for them specifically. And then just like voraciously researching and reading everything I could get my hands on outside of the company. And then also, I think just like bringing what I learned from the past companies I worked with. I'd worked in multiple marketing teams, different designers, and really just understanding like, the graphic design world, the agency world is in some ways a little bit older and more established with how to run creative businesses profitably. And so taking a look at what's working there and how do we take that and really apply it to this very similar business model while also understanding the differences. So yeah, I think it really was just kind of like a lot of research, and then talking to other designers, just making friends and sharing information, and also, you know, getting information from them and starting to build that framework that has become like my knowledge bank at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I would imagine with them, now I don't know what size they were when you started with them, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's you have to run your business a little bit differently when you're a large team as compared to just one or two people.
Totally.
It requires a whole different set of, you know, thinking and processes, right? So was that part of what they brought you in to help with, was to set up processes for them that would allow them to grow and scale their team?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, Shay and Sid are like, they're such powerhouses. They're so smart. They're very capable. And I think all business owners kind of get to this point where they, you know, the business starts to get bigger than what they can do themselves. And so when I joined, they had already created a leadership team that was running a lot of things. Like, they weren't doing everything themselves at that point. But I do think that like the design team versus McGee & Co. was taking a lot of time, like the amount of time from them to run both of those businesses. And so what I was able to come in and kind of help with is like helping be a support to them to help run the business side of the Studio McGee business, so they could really scale and grow the McGee & Co. side. So we really, you know, worked together, collaborated, leaned on each other. But I think that like Shay has always been so amazing at staying really close to the design and knowing that like that's her core, and always giving the most to the clients that she can. So yeah, I feel like really what it was like, how do we streamline a lot of these operations so we can be more efficient, so we can use her time wisely, so she'll have the time that she needs to focus on both McGee & Co. and Studio McGee, and like maintain that excellent level of quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so from there, you then transitioned on your services. You'd kind of done all you could do there. It was time for you to move on, and then you started Tandem. So at that point, what was the impetus for you to start Tandem? What made you go, okay, this is needed in the industry, and I'm ready to do this?
Yeah, I think it was, and I actually talked to Sid a lot about this. He was really supportive and just so kind and, you know, gracious with me leaving and all of that. I think one thing I learned was that I'm a builder and not necessarily a maintainer, right? And I think that it's really important for everyone to understand like where they find the most joy and what job they do super well, and then try to set themselves up to do that job more. And rather than going into another company where I would do a similar thing and then leave, or, you know, kind of be stuck maintaining the systems I built, or I guess that we'd built, I knew that I wanted to like be working with more people, having more variety, and kind of building more things. I really enjoyed the initial problem solving and the research and the strategy a lot more than, you know, just keeping things running or like kind of doing the day-to-day operations and maintenance. So I knew from that I was like, I think I really want to go do this for more people. I love the interior design world. I love working with female entrepreneurs. I love design. Yeah. So I think it really just kind of got to like, okay, I think that this is my time to go. And I started making good friends with some other designers and just kind of offering help where I could. And then from there, I started working with, I think it was like 2 or 3 people initially, just consulting. And we just kind of did this like, hey, I'm trying this out. I think I can help. Would that be of interest to you? And we worked together and able to do that for a couple people until I could really figure out my own business model, which is very different than an interior design business model, but like figure that out and then really grow Tandem from there. So.
Yeah. And you're 3 now, right?
3 years.
A team of 3.
Yeah. There's actually 5 of us. We hired 2 new designers recently. Yeah. So thank you. So we have, you know, me doing a lot of the strategy and a lot of the messaging and stuff like that. And then Rebecca, who does all of our operations. She's amazing. And then our creative director, April. So that's the third person that has really brought such an amazing skill set to our team with like branding and website design and a lot of things like that. And then we have 2 other designers as well that just recently joined us that kind of support on all of our design projects. So yeah, it's growing fast. It's amazing. It's fun. It's exciting. So I feel pretty lucky to get to work with all of them.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you maybe describe your process when working with designers? So you have a designer, they reach out, they need your help, maybe actually a better question might be, what are some of the reasons why you find that designers are reaching out to you?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes into a couple different buckets is what I found is because we offer custom branding and websites. I have plenty of people that reach out and that's really the service they're interested in. We always start everything with a strategy session. I want to make sure that like when we start any project that I understand where they're coming from, what they're trying to build, what they want to do, what their goals are, and then who their ideal audience is, right? Like their ideal client, because those things are going to shape every decision that we make. So I want to make sure I know where are we going? Who are we doing it for? And what about this designer is like a special quality, a special thing that we can really highlight to articulate their value to make them different from other designers. Because there's so many designers out there. How do we help our clients, show their potential clients what is different about them and why they should be the partner that they end up choosing? So sometimes it's just a branding project and a website. And it's, honestly, fairly simple of like, my brand doesn't reflect who I am and who I want to be. And I want help creating a visual identity, brand messaging, brand website or brand strategy to help me, show the business to the outside world the way that I want to. So we get a lot of projects like that. And those are always super fun. And then we get some clients sometimes that are just more strategy clients, whether that's I'm new and I need help figuring out my pricing or my processes or what systems should I use? There's a million out there. Can you help me figure out what systems I should use for my business to get all the info I need and do the processes correctly. So we'll sit down with those designers and help them figure out, based on your area and the type of work you do and your scope, what should we charge? And, what scope is included in that? And what's the process for that? And what systems do we use? So that's kind of more of that business strategy category. And then we have some clients that are, maybe their business is running pretty well. Their processes are working okay. They've got the systems in place and maybe even their brand is fine. They love their logo. They think their website works, but there's just something missing about their work, whether that's their enjoyment. Maybe they're super stressed. Maybe they just aren't really sure where they're headed. They're like, I love what I'm doing, but I just don't really know. I maybe have lost my why, what am I doing? What's my purpose? What am I growing toward? And with people like that, we can do strategy sessions to really understand where they find joy, what sets them apart, and build a vision for them for how to grow their business in a direction that they're going to be excited about, happy about. So that could just look like, okay, you love doing this and you love doing that. What if we restructure your services so you can do more of this stuff? And then we'll make X amount of money, which is going to help you achieve your personal goals. And here are the 10 steps that we need to do in order to kind of get you from point A to point B. So really helping people understand, what do I do? I think so much as business owners, we feel a little alone, and having someone that understands the industry and can really dive in with you, understand your context and your situation, and help bring ideas and, bring potential steps to help you know what to do next and what direction to go in a way that you can feel confident about and comfortable with. I mean, that's something that we offer to a lot of different clients. And honestly, it can be about anything. The topics are always a little bit different because everyone's situation is, just slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like sometimes we're too close to our own businesses. Sometimes we need a separate perspective, someone outside of us to say, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? So what is this kind of, standard time frame that you spend with companies, with designers?
So for strategy sessions, it's typically either a 90-minute strategy session typically on like one topic. So like your pricing, your processes, your vision for the future, just like kind of tackling one thing. Or we do strategy intensives, which are a full day. We do 2 different meetings, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And then in the middle of that time, I'm kind of working to put together some ideas and some propositions, or some like, okay, here's based on what you're saying, here's kind of what I recommend. And then we go over that at the end of the day and refine. And then I send them all of the notes and the information. And like, honestly, anything that I have that I can give them aligned with like the questions they're asking, I package all that up and send it to them. So that's like a full day strategy intensive. I do have some clients from time to time where we'll do like 1 or 2 months of, intense strategy work. And that could be like helping build out a business plan, or, updating their brand strategy or something. So those things are a little bit more like depends on the client and kind of what they need. But for the most part, our strategy sessions are like 90 minutes to 1 day. And then branding projects, it's usually 4 to 6 weeks. And websites are like somewhere between like 6 and 12 weeks, depending on how complex it is, or like how much content they have and need and want to show. So all of those are just, we talk to each client and really build a custom proposal based on what they really need and what their top priorities are.
Yeah. So basically then with most of the sessions, they have like an actionable list of things to go and do.
Totally.
Can they set up more time with you, or an ongoing process, kind of ongoing relationship?
For sure. So we actually, a lot of times we'll do like that first day, that strategy intensive, and then people will come and do like a 90-minute check-in, like a month later, like, okay, I took everything you said. Here's some of the stuff I've implemented. I have some questions about this. And then we can kind of look at it again together, and we don't need to dive quite as deep because we've already done that. And I have some clients that like set up monthly meetings and we kind of check in monthly. Yeah. So I say it does kind of depend, but that's why I like structuring our services in a way that can be really flexible, because I think so often as interior designers, your work is kind of going up and down, and there's times where you can work on your business and times when you're working in your business. And I want to make sure that I can be that flexible support. So when you have a little bit of downtime and you're ready to kind of work on some of the things and make some improvements, then we're there and we can kind of get some quick answers. And then, you can go work on that and then come back and do more. So we try really hard to make sure all of our services can be flexible and customized and, really geared toward each person and where they're at in their journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your experience working, with your Tandem clients, Studio McGee is kind of a whole nother realm. But is there anything that you see, at least amongst companies or designers, that are kind of similar that they're really struggling with? And like, if you could give them one piece of, actionable advice, what would that be?
Oh man, actionable advice would be to set 2 or 3 goals. I think so often, and I find myself even doing this, we want to conquer the world and we want to try to do everything and we want to do it all at once. So I think making a list of everything you want to accomplish and then creating like what I would call like slots for your goals. So I get 3 goals this quarter, 3 goals next quarter, 3 goals the quarter after that, and really feeling like you're going to focus on 2 or 3 things and get them done. And like actually give yourself a to-do list that's possible, and like then move on to the next thing. And I think really focusing on achieving those goals in a way that you can feel confident about. I see this a lot where people kind of cover the same ground, right? Like they maybe choose a new project management system and then 3 months later they're questioning it. And it's like, do your research, make your choice, and then don't think about it again for like 1 year. Let it, set it and forget it and move on to the next thing. So you're not constantly covering the same ground and going in circles. Dedicate the time to really think through it and decide what's right for you. And then move on to the next thing. You can always like come back and look at it again in the future. But if you're doing that like every 2-3 weeks or months, it's going to be really hard to make any progress. And at the end of the day, like there's not a perfect right answer. I think sometimes it is like doing your research, choosing the best thing, and then letting that thing work for you and like understanding it's an investment rather than like constantly undercutting yourself by going back on your decisions to try to find something that's like perfect. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's good advice for everyone in business.
Yeah, I do.
Me included.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like you say that and then it's like I need someone to tell me that too, because I'm like over here, I'm going to do this and do that and do this. And it's true. We can do all of those things. We just can't do them all at the same time. And knowing that like, this is a journey. This is a life journey. We have our whole lives to build this business. And, what's the best thing you can spend your time on right now and do it the best you can, and then ship it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are like 40 tabs open on our computer all the time and in our mind, and it'd be hard to like pick the thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I think that like just narrowing it down to a few things and getting focused is really, it's the way you're going to get further faster.
So if a designer comes to you and wants to scale, maybe it's just them and one other,
a small team,
and their goal, their vision is, a big design
mm-hmm.
team. How would you recommend that they, what actions would you recommend that they take to get there?
I think really understanding a couple different things. So for them to take some time and know what part of the process do they enjoy the most? What do they want to hold on to? And then what are they willing to let go of? Because I think hiring more people just like you is not always the right answer, right? Like, you don't want to hire your own competition in your own company. You want to hire people that are going to support your weaknesses and be happy to do the work that you're wanting to let go of. So you have to know, what do I want to keep and what do I want to let go of? I think is really important. And then making sure that you're really hiring good cultural fits and people that can learn and grow, because if you're hiring someone that's done exactly what you need, they're probably going to be bored. So how do we help another person grow into that position? So making sure that you're really clear on what's a good cultural fit, what personality is going to work well with me, what are some of the, key traits, like whether that's being really solutions oriented or optimistic, or, someone that can go with the flow and just kind of like do what comes up, or someone who's very detailed and is going to make sure that every single thing that's ordered is ordered exactly correctly. How do you really like balance your characteristics with theirs in a way that will be harmonious and you'll work well together? So I think thinking about those things. And then, this is where systems like Gather, I think, are so huge, is getting it off of a piece of paper and out of your head. Your employees can't read your mind. They won't be able to see your notes on your desk. There has to be a system that you can then teach them so they can do the job. They can have full responsibility and full autonomy over the role and the position, rather than you feeling like you're just sending them tasks all day, because that's where you get like the burnout, the like hiring an assistant becomes more for you to do rather than less, when you're like, can you check on this pricing? Can you call this person? Can you email this person? Can you check the drawings and make sure that the trim on that is the 1/4 inch, whatever? Or, when you're constantly trying to hold it all in your brain and tell them what to do, you won't feel like you're really getting help. You'll feel like you have more to do than if you just did it yourself. But when you can stop and say, okay, I'm hiring you, and your job is going to be to make sure that every price on every item is done correctly. And when it goes out the door, every single detail on all of our products is correct. All the finishes, selections, sizing, dimensions, the PO numbers, the internal price, the external price. This is all the stuff that you're in charge of. And you need to make sure that all of these things are correct. Well, now they know what they're in charge of. They know their job and they can do it. And then you guys can actually have objective conversations about whether they're doing it well or not well, versus, are you doing what I'm asking you to fast enough, or the way I would do it, or all that kind of stuff. So I think really trying to remove this subjectivity and give them objective role and responsibility so they can cover it from start to finish. And it's not just little crumbs and tasks that they can try to like help you with. So I think that's really key. And I think that's where systems come in. It's being able to have a place that is the master of information that both people can reference, that things can be updated automatically. So whether that's Google Drive or Asana or Gather or, Dubsado or any of these systems, making sure that you have one place for the information that's always updated, and that there's assignments and that there's clear ownership and responsibility over who's in charge of what, so that there is like clear expectations and boundaries. And I think that one thing I see a lot is people writing to-do lists, or the process is all in their head, and they're frustrated that people they hire aren't like figuring out what needs to be done, or that they don't know the process. They haven't learned it quick enough, when there's not really a great resource or tool for them to learn it, because it's not written down. They can't study it. They're not going to do things the way you do them unless you show them or teach them. And that takes a lot of time. So having like systems that they can learn and hop in on and get the info they need, I'd say is kind of like step number one. Like, you need to know your process and how you want things to work and how you price and how your services are, in order to bring someone in to help you do that.
So that it's clearly defined for them, and there's no guessing.
Exactly.
I would imagine micromanaging is also a problem, because it's probably hard to release the reins, when most designers have been doing it so long on their own, and then their team starts to grow, and it's like you have to let stuff go, which must be hard.
It is. And I think that nobody wants to be a micromanager, and nobody wants to micromanage. It's something that happens when there's not clear expectations. So I think just setting yourself up for success by setting weekly meetings, having expectations outlined, making sure that there is a time and place for your employees to ask you questions and to get feedback, and to ask for feedback as a manager. Is there a way that I could be doing this better to suit your needs? Do you feel like you have all the tools and resources that you need to do your job well? Is there information I could provide you more consistently, so that way you know what you need to do? And then turning that back around and saying, okay, here's what I'd like to see from you so that you can help me do my job better. And really creating that reciprocal relationship that isn't emotional. It's based on like objective data. So that way, it doesn't get too emotional. Sometimes that can be really tricky, where you're like, we're friends and I don't want to tell her she's not doing a good job. And it's like, if you have a weekly meeting set up where you can ask those questions and you can say the things you need, then it isn't a surprise when you want to give feedback. That's the expectation. Everyone knows that's how it works. So,
right.
Yeah, I think just like really trying to make sure that you treat your business like it's a business. Treat yourself like the CEO that you are, and hire employees knowing that these are your employees. They're not your friends helping you, that these are people that are doing a job, and you need to let them know what that job is and how it should be done, and then let them do it. I mean, harder done than said, I guess. Easier said than done. Yeah.
Easier said than done. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. I think we should also talk a little bit about pricing, because I imagine that's something that comes up for you a lot as well.
Yeah.
I know for me, I talk to a lot of designers, and I get that question quite a bit. Like, every designer wants to know what other designers are doing.
Yeah.
And there's this new sort of trend that has come up in the last couple years. It's been growing, but where designers are offering their client, like they're passing on their discount that they receive from the manufacturers or vendors onto their clients. And for me, that's like, oh, why would you do that? When I was doing design many years ago, we would never have done that for a multitude of reasons. But, one of them is just making sure that the client is understanding our value and why we're not doing that, like why we're billing the way that we are. So anyway, what are your thoughts on that? Do you find that designers are asking you about, maybe not that particular thing, but just pricing in general?
Yeah, I think I get a lot of questions about pricing in general. I help a lot of designers figure out what pricing feels right for them. I would say that there's not like a perfect system, and there's definitely not like everyone should be doing it this way kind of thing. I think that it's important to match your pricing to your value, to your scope and your market, right? Like your ideal client. So like all kind of all of those things, bringing them together and creating a price that makes sense that you can be profitable at is really the key. So how do we understand those pieces and then create a price and a pricing structure that's going to match all of those things? Interior design, there's a lot of ways of doing it. Full service is going to be more expensive than virtual, which is going to be more expensive than a design consultation. At the end of the day, you're selling interior design, but it's all in a different package. It's a different product. So we need to think about what is the product, who are we selling it to, and what all is included, and make sure that we're comparing like apples to apples. I hear a lot of people going, well, I talked to this designer and they charge $450 an hour. So I'm only charging $175. Like I should be charging more. And I'm like, maybe you should be charging more. Let's look at how many inquiries are you getting? Are you providing the same level of service and the same work that designer is? What does your product pricing look like? Like what's the comprehensive pricing structure and not just hourly rate, product. Like we have to look at it as a total package and make sure that it makes sense to your client. I think going off of what you were saying about passing along discounts, I would never go to someone and say, everybody should pass along their discounts. It just doesn't make sense as a business, like where we can add value and where we can make money, like we want to do that. I think a lot of times people see it as, well, they're paying me for my time, paying me for all this time. So like they shouldn't have to pay extra, and giving a discount can incentivize clients to like go with you over someone else. And I personally believe every business gets to make the choice that's right for them. But I also feel like it's like going to a restaurant and being like, well, I already paid for my entree and my appetizer. I shouldn't have to pay for my drinks and my dessert. It's like, if you get more stuff, you pay for more stuff. I think that everything should be priced the way it should be priced. And then the clients get to select what they're willing to purchase. Mm-hmm. So I would never really say like, let's give things away for free and with no markup, because we are a business and we're providing a service and we should be compensated for that and for the convenience. So I actually liken this to DoorDash a lot for clients, because I think a lot of the people I talk to have a lot of guilt around money and around charging and around, well, I'm getting it at this price, and if I mark it up, I don't feel honest. And I'm like, we need to be thinking about this differently, because we're not doing them a favor, right? Like if they want to go start their own interior design business, set up all the accounts, go research all these brands, learn all this information, and they want to go do it themselves, they can get the discount. They don't want to do that. So we'll do it for them. And then we're going to be paid and compensated. And most of the time, they can pay us retail cost and get a ton of extra value and pay exactly what they would have paid without our help. That is huge. That's a huge value add. And to me, that's not passing along discounts. And that's still them getting a huge value for a price they would have paid otherwise. And so I like to kind of think about it that way. But like looking at the DoorDash analogy, when I go on DoorDash and I'm going to buy lunch, I know that every single item that I put in my cart is going to be more expensive than if I drove to the restaurant and bought it. I know that I'm going to pay fees. I'm going to pay taxes. I'm going to pay a tip. Everything is more expensive. But at the end of the day, I don't want to go get my lunch. So I'm going to pay it because I have the money and I get to make that choice. And I'm going to pay for the convenience. And there's someone else out there that wouldn't. Someone else would say, well, that's crazy. I'm not going to pay $40 for this burger and fries. I'm going to just drive and go get it. And by all means, go do that. I don't want to. I'm going to pay for the convenience of somebody else making my lunch, someone else picking it up, someone bringing it to me and dropping it off at my house. So I don't have to do that. And I think that sometimes when designers look at it a little bit more that way and see that like, oh, this is an additional convenience and service and people should have to pay for that, they start to feel more confident in what they're charging, and they're willing to let go of the people who aren't going to pay for that. And I think that's the key, is like, if you're charging what you should be charging and people don't want to pay that, then they're not your client. And so in your pricing structure, we want to make sure that we can serve a variety of people. So the person who doesn't want to like pay extra and will drive and go get it, maybe they're a great client for virtual design, and the client who doesn't want to pay for virtual design, they don't want to pay $3,000 or $5,000 to have a design for their living room, maybe they're a great person for a virtual or for a consultation, and they'll pay $300 or $500 and they'll figure it out themselves. But what we want to avoid is giving full service for a virtual design price. And I think that's what we do when we discount our products and when we try to match our pricing to what our clients want to hear. You know, I like to say instead, well, if your budget is $500, here's what I have to offer you. You know, like you can't get Tiffany's on a Target price. It's just not going to happen. So like, I need to understand in my discovery call, is this person looking for a Tiffany's experience? Because if so, I will bring the concierge level, full service, turnkey, you get it all, but I'm going to charge 100, 200 grand.
Right.
You know? And so I think it's about understanding your buckets and helping people fit into the buckets and not us trying to constantly fit ourselves to what each client wants and what they want to pay. And I think that's where like treating yourself like a business and saying, oh, that's such a bummer that you want full service, but you only want to spend $5,000. That's such a bummer that you can't have what you want. Here's what I can offer you. And be confident about that and feel really good that you're providing an excellent service and a great value, and they get to choose whether they want it or not. Very long-winded answer, but like, I think at the end of the day, it does depend. But I think psychologically, all pricing really comes down to your confidence as a designer. And when you're confident and you can go tell someone, I know it's worth this much. I know I can provide this level of value. I know this is what you're looking for, and I can solve your problem, and this is what it costs. And if you can find someone to do it cheaper, then please have them do it, because it won't be as good as what I can do. And people will pay the money. They just want to see the value.
I think that was a great answer. And that was really well said. It makes so much sense when you break it down like that.
Yeah.
And do you when you have designers that come to you for this, because clearly, telling them this is one thing, but then having them turn around and confidently relay this information to their client, do you work with them on maybe language that they can write for that, or,
I think also one exercise I like to do with people is to just show them the data. I think a lot of times designers don't have time to sit down and do, like I did for Studio McGee, like all the like audits and the data, the like, how can this work? And so I'll sit there and be like, okay, well, how many full service projects can you handle at a time? And how many virtual design and how many consultations? And what do we charge for each of those? Okay. And how long does that last? And how much is the square footage? And how many hours do we estimate? And it's all just like estimates. But when they start to see that like at their maximum capacity, they're only going to make $80,000. And if we just charge for the furniture and we just double the price of a consultation, they can make $200,000 and put it in their pocket. I think that makes people change the way they view that very quickly. When they can see that like, oh, I'm already selling all this furniture. If I literally just do a 20% markup instead of 35 like others, I'm still giving a discount, but I'm going to make $140,000 next year, working 20 less hours a month or something. Like when we can start to really give that concrete, here's what you're doing and here's how much money you're making. If we adjust this, and this, these small changes that align with your strategy and align with your brand strategy and really make sense in our industry standard. If we change these 3 little things, now you're going to make this much next year, doing the same amount or less work. How does that feel? I think a lot of people are like, that seems cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's showing how it can work as much as the like story behind why it works.
Well, that was really insightful. I think that a lot of people will find that really helpful information. Yeah. So is there anything else that you're working on or that you want to share?
That's a really great question. Let's see. One thing that we're trying to do pretty soon is like open up like a digital shop where we can sell a few just helpful resources and guidelines and tools for people to just kind of, like you were saying, designers are always wondering like, what's everybody charging? And because we work exclusively with interior designers, we're always very discreet about what everyone's doing and how each person does things, because I really want it to be a custom to people. And we never want to go out and try to like copy what others are doing. It's all about digging into like how each designer does things and why they do it that way, and help them pick a method that's right for them. But I think there are some patterns I've seen and some like industry standards and some just overarching themes. And we're working to create some resources for designers so that they can kind of tap into that, like those patterns and those themes, so they can kind of grade themselves and judge themselves based on that. So we're going to be opening that, which will be really exciting. And I would love for any designers to reach out to us and let us know what they'd love to see. Like what would be really helpful resources for them to be able to like purchase or have or work with us on. I think we're super open and would love to hear any ideas that people have. So I think my last thing would be like, don't be shy, reach out. We love talking to designers. We make connections all the time. I'm always happy to do a discovery call, even if you don't end up, moving forward with anything. We really just love the community and want to get to know people. And we find our best clients and our best work through the connections we make. So like, don't be shy and say hi.
And how can they reach you? What's the best way for them to find you?
Oh, good question. Okay. So our website is with-tandem.com. So you can go there and see our website, and our Instagram is @with_tandem. So you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on our website. That's like, reach out there and we can chat.
Well, thank you, Renee. You're such like a wealth of knowledge for designers. I love chatting with you. Yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thanks so much, Scotty.